Listening 104. Listen and read. Why is Libby so happy at the end?
This is hard work, isn't it?
Keep going, Tom. We have to keep this dolphin wet.
How much longer can it survive on land?
I don't know. I wish I knew.
Hey, that's Ed and Kate, isn't it?
Yes, and they're with Finn and a rescue team. Do you think it will survive?
Yes, I think so. It's a good thing you found it and knew what to do.
It's gone. I hope it's all right out there.
It'll be fine now. You saved its life. It will be busy finding its family again now.
The next day.
Look, it's the dolphin. It looks very peaceful in the sea. Fantastic! It's found its family and friends again.
Listening 105. Listen and repeat.
Basic. Busy. Cheap. Dull. Expensive. Luxurious. Peaceful. Stimulating.
Listening 106. Listen and repeat.
Right. No. Wrong. Snow. What? Honest. White. Hour.
Listening 107. Listen and read. Are the family on holiday?
I wish I wasn't afraid of heights.
I wish I could fly.
I wish it wasn't the last day of our holiday.
I wish I was taller.
Listening 108. Listen and read. Where are Chip and Professor going for their holiday?
Right, Chip. You packed your sunglasses, didn't you?
Yes, Professor. They're in my bag.
We're going on holiday to a robot camp. I'm so excited.
There will be lots of robots, won't there? Wow! There are lots of robots here, aren't there? Let's go and see the sea.
Yes, this is going to be a fantastic holiday.
Listening 109. Listen and read.
Travel blog. My year around the world. I'm Sarah. I'm 12 years old, and this is my blog. We left Canada in January when Mum and Dad decided they wanted us to give up our lives in Canada and go traveling for a year. They said they wanted us to learn about lots of different things around the world by seeing them all. It was the start of a big adventure. On day 1, we flew to Delhi, in India. What an amazing place! It was so busy and noisy. There were hundreds of rickshaws, motorbikes, and cars driving around, and people shouting and rushing everywhere. We spent a couple of days in Delhi and then went by train all the way down the coast to Kerala. The journey took 4 days. but it was so interesting to sit on the train and watch the sights out the window. We stopped in a fantastic town called Varkala. There were palm trees on the beach, white sand, and great sunshine. We sat on the beach for a few hours, and then we decided to do something really exciting. We went on an elephant ride. We traveled through the jungle and across rivers. It was so exciting. It was quite scary being so high up on an elephant, but it was still great fun. Unfortunately, my brother Dan hated it because he doesn't like heights. After Varkala, we spent a few days on a houseboat traveling down a river. We stopped once at a village and met a local family who invited us to eat with them. The food was traditional food from Kerala. It was quite spicy and full of different flavors. After that, the local children taught us a traditional Indian board game called caroms. We also did some fishing from the boat, and I caught my first fish. We cooked it, and it tasted great. We're going to spend a few more days in Kerala, and then we're going to Sri Lanka. I'll write an update on my blog again when I arrive there.
Listening 110. Listen. Who is the interviewer talking to?
Welcome to the travel program. Sarah Todd went on a trip with her family around the world. Now she's home again, and I'm talking to her about her experience. Sarah, where did you go?
Well, we started in India.
What was your favourite thing in India?
I loved the food in India.
Where did you go next?
Sri Lanka and then China. In China, we traveled around for 2 months on the train and by bike. My favorite thing there was seeing the Great Wall of China. It was amazing.
Where did you go next?
We flew to Australia. My favorite thing was exploring the rainforests.
Where did you go next?
We flew to South Africa and traveled around for 2 months there. My favorite thing there was seeing the animals, the elephants, lions, zebras. It was fantastic.
And where did you go next?
Well, we went to South America. My favorite thing there was climbing a mountain in Peru.
Wow. And was that the end of the trip?
No. After that, we went to North America for the last 2 months.
What were your favourite things there?
In North America, my favorite thing was visiting New York. New York is a great city.
And is it good to be home again?
Well, it's great to see all my friends, but I'd love to go traveling again in the future.
Listening 111. Listen and order the lines. Sing.
I wish I was on holiday and having lots of fun, swimming in the bright blue sea or sitting in the sun. I wish I was on holiday and playing on the sand, running round the yellow beach with ice creams in my hand. I wish I was on holiday with friends and family too, smiling, talking, playing games and laughing all day through. I wish I wasn't at the bus stop and feeling cold and wet. I wish I was on holiday, but it isn't summer yet.
Listening 112. Listen and read.
Where would you go if you could go anywhere in the world?
I'd like to visit Disney World. What about you? Where would you most like to go on holiday?
Well, there's an article here about space tourism. I've always wanted to go to space.
It looks amazing. How much does it cost?
It's too expensive. If only I was a millionaire.
Listening 113. Listen and write true or false.
Hi, Ben. How are you?
Hello, Zaid. I'm all right.
What are you reading?
It's an article about dream holidays.
Oh, yes. So where would you go if you could go anywhere in the world?
Well, I'd love to go to Florida in the United States.
Would you go to Disney World or to the beach?
I wouldn't go to either of them. I've always wanted to go to the Kennedy Space Center. It's an amazing museum.
Would you like to be an astronaut?
Yes. If only I was in space right now. I'd love it. I'd like to go on an expedition to Mars and look for life there.
I wonder if you'd find it.
What about you? Where would you most like to go?
Oh, that's easy. I'd like to go to South America and travel on a boat through the Amazon rainforest.
So you want to be an explorer? Would you go into space?
Oh, no. I'd stay here on Earth. There are too many places to explore down here.
You're probably right.
Listening 114. Listen and read.
The Mysteries of Mars. People have always been fascinated by Mars, and it has become one of the most explored planets in the solar system. In the early 1600s, when the telescope was invented, astronomers looked up at the planet and wondered what it was like. Since then, as technology has grown, scientists have sent satellites to orbit Mars and robots to explore the surface. Over the centuries, they have discovered many things. The climate. Mars is known as the red planet because it is covered in red dust. It has violent dust storms, so the surface is always changing. It is the second smallest planet in the solar system and fourth in line from the Sun, which means it can get very cold. The highest temperature on Mars is about 25 degrees Celsius, but the lowest is around minus 120 degrees Celsius. The discovery of water. Mars is in the middle of an ice age, so liquid water cannot exist on its surface at the present time. However, photographs show markings on the surface of the rocks. Scientists think these markings suggest there were rivers there. Perhaps this was because of melting ice, or perhaps there was rain and snow. Some scientists even believe a large ocean once covered the northern half of Mars. The surface. Mars has an interesting surface. Scientists think meteorites crashed onto Mars billions of years ago because it has many large craters. The largest crater is about 1,800 kilometers across. There are also mountains, valleys, and volcanoes. Olympus Mons is one of these volcanoes and is the highest mountain in the solar system. It's around 21 kilometers high, which is about 3 times higher than Mount Everest. The early missions. The first missions to Mars began in the 1960s, when the Soviet Union and the US began sending spacecraft to orbit the planet. These spacecraft took photographs and collected information about many things. Some of them tried to land on the surface, but these attempts were unsuccessful. Then, in July 1976, the first unmanned spacecraft landed on Mars. It was called Viking 1. In September, its twin, Viking 2, landed on a different part of the planet. These two spacecraft had computers that could record information around them and send it back to Earth. However, the spacecraft could only stay in one place, so scientists weren't able to know what the whole of Mars was like. In 1996, the Sojourner was launched. This craft was different from Viking 1 and 2 because it could move around, like a remote-controlled car. It was known as a rover because it could travel across the surface without a human driver and explore other areas. In 2004, 2 more rovers were launched and landed on Mars. These rovers were called Spirit and Opportunity. Unfortunately, Spirit has since become trapped and has stopped working, but Opportunity is still active. It continues to move, collect information, take photos, and report back to Earth. The landing of Curiosity. More recently, in 2012, NASA sent a new rover called Curiosity to Mars. This rover, which is the size of a car, has 6 wheels and is around 2.8 meters long. It can travel 200 meters per day. It has computerized equipment which can survey rocks, soil and dust. It has cameras which can send images back to Earth. It is the biggest and most advanced rover yet. Its mission is to find out more about the climate and geology of Mars, and also to find out if there was once some kind of life there. The future of space travel. Scientists have discovered a lot about Mars through satellites and different kinds of robots. However, they are working hard to improve technology. They hope that one day they will be able to send astronauts to walk upon the surface of the red planet, so that they can learn more about the mysteries of Mars. Scientists also hope to develop ways to increase the number of people that can travel into space. It's already possible to pay thousands of dollars to book a place on a spacecraft and travel with astronauts. But as more and more people are becoming interested, companies such as Virgin Galactic are planning to provide a space tourism service. Virgin Galactic is building a fleet of commercial spaceships with the intention of making space travel a reality. And as the demand increases, the price of tickets will become lower. Then, travelling in space, or even exploring other planets such as Mars, may become a reality for ordinary people.
Listening 115. Listen and read.
The Diary of an Astronaut. The 16th of October. 6 o'clock. We had our usual wake-up call this morning. I didn't want to get up because I was really comfortable. Some people think that sleeping in space must be really uncomfortable, but it isn't. We sleep in sleeping bags in compartments and strap ourselves in so that we don't float around while we sleep. There is no gravity in space, so if something isn't tied down, it floats away. We also have eye masks and earplugs at night, as it can be difficult to sleep because of the light and noise from the machines all around us. We usually have about 8 hours of sleep, but last night I only slept for about 6 hours. That's because I was staring out of the window at the views and taking pictures. It's amazing to see the Earth and all the stars from up here. When I was finally awake, I had a very quick wash. There isn't much water on a space station because we have to bring most of it from Earth on the space shuttle. We use water for drinks and washing, but there isn't enough water for washing up, so we eat from food containers that we can throw away. I had some bread and jam for breakfast. Some people think we only eat dry food in space, but this isn't true. We have lots of different types of food. Firstly, we have food that is ready to eat, like nuts and biscuits. Secondly, we have food that you have to add water to, like soup. We also have food from tins, such as fish and fruit. We drink from cartons and use straws so that the liquid doesn't float away and damage any of the machines. This is very important because if liquid damaged the machines, it would be very dangerous in space. After breakfast today, we did our usual cleaning jobs. It's really important that the space station is clean and tidy. This is because bits of rubbish can float away and damage the machines. All the rubbish we collect is taken back down to Earth. After we had cleaned, we sat down and had our usual daily planning conference with Mission Control on Earth. This is when we find out what work we have to do during the day. 8 o'clock. My first job today was to go on a spacewalk to check for damage on the outside of the space station. First, I had to put on my spacesuit. Spacesuits are very important because they protect us from the dangers of being outside. Firstly, they protect us from extreme temperatures. Secondly, they protect us if we are hit by speeding objects in space. Thirdly, they provide the oxygen we need to breathe while we're in space. It takes about an hour to put on a spacesuit because you have to spend a lot of time checking for leaks or holes. But going on spacewalks is one of my favourite activities in space. It's such an amazing feeling to be floating out amongst the stars and the planets. Today, I didn't find any problems, so I was back inside the space station in time for lunch. 1 o'clock. We usually have 1 hour for lunch, and today we had soup and bread to eat, followed by some tinned fruit and some biscuits. After that, we cleaned up, had a rest, and then got ready for the afternoon's work. 2 o'clock. After lunch, I helped to repair a damaged satellite. We sometimes visit orbiting satellites when we need to repair them. We use the space shuttle's robotic arms to work on them, but we also sometimes pull them in so that we can work on them more slowly. We successfully repaired the damage, and we will return the satellite to orbit tomorrow. 6:30. In the early evening, I did my exercise. Exercise is really important for us when we're in space. On Earth, we are always using our bones and muscles to move against the force of gravity. In space, there is no gravity, so our muscles and bones don't need to work so hard. They can become very weak, so we do at least 2 hours of exercise every day on the exercise machines at the space station. If we didn't do any exercise, then our muscles might become so weak that we couldn't walk anymore when we returned to Earth. After dinner, there was a meeting for the whole crew to discuss some of our plans for the rest of our stay at the space station. Then we had some free time. This evening, I listened to some music and wrote in my diary. I looked at the views and thought about how lucky I am to be an astronaut. It's brilliant.
Listening 116. Films in English. Listen and read. Find the titles of 8 films. Which of these films have you seen?
Do you like watching films? Many of the most popular films are produced by big American film companies. Some successful films are also made in other countries, such as the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. Hollywood is in an area of Los Angeles in California, US. It has been the center of the American film industry for about 90 years. Going to Los Angeles is a great experience because there is so much to do and see there. When you visit, you can go to a film studio and find out how a film is made. You can also visit the Hollywood Walk of Fame and see the names of the most famous actors written in stars on the pavement. Some of the films produced by the big American film companies are filmed in other countries. For example, when they made the Chronicles of Narnia, many of the scenes were filmed in New Zealand. And X-Men First Class, starring James McAvoy, was filmed in England. Fact File: India has the biggest film industry in the world. It's called Bollywood. Most Indian films are in Hindi because this is the most widely spoken language. Other English-speaking countries, including the UK and Australia, also have their own film industries. Some famous Australian actors include Sam Worthington, Avatar, and Hugh Jackman, Les Miserables. Which actors do you know from these countries? Blockbusters. Many old successful films have been remade in the last 20 years because technology has improved. For example, when CGI, computer-generated imagery, became popular and cheaper, many studios began to remake classics like King Kong and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. These are now modern blockbusters. The Hobbit films and Lord of the Rings films are a series of fantasy films. They were filmed in New Zealand. The Toy Story films are some of the most popular animated adventure films. When Toy Story was made, it was the first film created on a computer. The same studio also made The Incredibles and Monsters University.
Listening 117. Canada. Listen and read Jack's interview for his school magazine.
Where in Canada did Lucy visit? This month, we are focusing on English-speaking countries around the world. Jack Lewis is interviewing fellow student Lucy Ryan about her recent trip to Canada.
Hi, Lucy. Thank you for agreeing to this interview. I know you only arrived home this morning. It was a long plane journey, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. The flight took 8 hours.
You hadn't been to Canada before, had you?
No, I hadn't. It was a great experience. I went to the Rocky Mountains.
Can you tell us something about them?
Yes. The Rockies are a huge and beautiful mountain range. They stretch for nearly 5,000 kilometres and go from Canada, through the United States, and then Mexico. The highest peak is Mount Robson. You can see forests, waterfalls, rivers, and all kinds of wonderful things there.
You went to a national park there, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I visited the Jasper National Park, which is a large national park in Canada. There's some amazing wildlife there.
You didn't see a bear, did you?
No, I didn't. But I saw an elk. It was amazing. I also saw deer and a pack of coyotes.
Tell me some more about Canadian culture. What about the Mounties? Who are they?
Well, the Mounties are the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They're famous for their scarlet uniforms and Stetson hats. And, of course, their horses. I suppose it's easier to travel around the mountains when you're on a horse.
And what about food? Maple syrup came from Canada originally, didn't it?
Yes, it did. The Aboriginal people collected it from plants. It came from North America too. But Canada's the biggest producer today. It's lovely and sweet and delicious on pancakes. I also enjoyed the smoked meat sandwiches. And my favourite dish was poutine. It's a traditional dish made of chips, cheese and gravy.
Sounds delicious. Well, thank you for talking to me, Lucy.
You're welcome.
Listening 118. English around the world. Listen and read the text about languages. Which 3 countries are the children from?
I live in Singapore. There are 4 official languages in my country. These are English, Mandarin, Malay, and Tamil. English is the working language of the country. This means it's the main language taught in schools and used by business. My parents are Malay, so I speak Malay at home with my family. But I speak some Mandarin and some Tamil too. I speak English a lot with my friends, at school and when we go out. There are a lot of visitors and tourists in Singapore, so I often have the opportunity to speak English to them. I like knowing different languages, but I probably wouldn't learn another language unless I wanted to live in that country.
I live in Jaipur, which is a city in Rajasthan in India. India has many different languages. There are 22 main languages and over 1,600 regional varieties. Hindi is the official language of India, but English is widely spoken, especially in government and education. It's often called the working language of India. Hindi is my first language, so I speak that at home with my family. I can also speak Rajasthani and English, which I learn at school. I love Indian films, but I like watching British and American films too. I don't speak English at home, unless we have English-speaking visitors. I have family in London, so when they visit us, I always speak English to them. I'd like to be a translator one day. I won't be successful unless I speak English fluently.
I live in San Francisco in California in the US. Almost 40 million people live here and more than 50% of them are Hispanic, Asian, Native American or from another group. This means people speak a lot of different languages. English is the most widely spoken language, but millions of people also speak Spanish. My parents were born in California, but my grandparents were born in Mexico and came here when they were young. We always speak Spanish at home, and so I'm bilingual. I speak English with all my friends at school and out on the street. I watch programs in English on TV all the time. I don't watch films in Spanish unless my parents are watching them. I love listening to British and American music, but I enjoy Latin music too.
Fact file. English is one of the main ways to communicate in the world. The main language used on the internet is English. Also, 75% of the world's letters and mail are in English.